What is going on, everybody out there in the YouTube trucking community? Sean Cahalan, Christian Brother Trucker, coming at you again with another video today. And today, I wanted to catch everybody up, all my viewers, up on the progress on my recent changes. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you've seen that I've made quite a bit of changes in my career, where I was working for Paschal Truck Lines. And then I went over to Landstar to work for a BCO to try to learn how to be an owner-operator. And that didn't work out, so I ended up going back to Paschal Truck Lines. Well, I changed jobs again. Now, I know, everybody's thinking, man, do you ever stick around at a job? Honestly, it's something that I've struggled with about putting down roots within any kind of company. And a lot of that comes from my upbringing as a child. I moved. I've moved more times as a child than I can count. And because of that, it created this habit in me where I move a lot in my jobs. And so it's something that I'm taking a look at, and something that God is working with me on. But I wanted to kind of give some clarification as to what happened over at Paschal Truck Lines, and the reasons why I left, and the place that I chose to come over to, and the reasons why I chose to make the switch, and my thoughts on, Paschal Truck Lines versus where I'm at now. So first of all, reasons why I left Paschal Truck Lines was because I was a trainer over there. And as a trainer, I experienced a massive slowdown and a massive lack of miles that were available to me as a trainer. So what had happened was I was able to, it was a 3-week training course that trainees go through. And it was a phase 1 and a phase 2. During phase 1, the trainee comes onto the truck for about 3 weeks to get 7,500 miles. Sometimes a little bit shorter, sometimes a little bit longer. So during the first week, I would shoot for 2,500 miles. The second week, I would shoot for about 3,500 to 4,200, somewhere in there. And then the final week, I would be shooting for over 5,000 miles. I know that's a lot of miles to be putting a trainee through. And, it wasn't the best training program available. It was pretty brutal on the trainees and on me as a trainer as well. 7,500 miles is kind of a big ask, but I tried to make sure that I kind of paced things along slowly, so that I wasn't adding too much onto the trainees' plate as I was progressing through the weeks. So it turned out pretty good. My first week was, it was an average paycheck. Second week was a little bit better. And the third week was a monster check. It was almost like double. So, I was pretty happy with everything, but what had happened was that I noticed some changes where Paschal Truck Lines had lost some contracts on some of the lanes that we were running. Paschal Truck Lines is primarily an all east of the I-35 corridor. So, over the road, regional, whatever lane you run in, for them, it's going to be all east of the I-35 unless you're a trainer truck or a team truck. So either a trainer's truck or a team truck would get on these dedicated lanes that we would run for FedEx, UPS, and a couple of other places. Like, I think there was Arkansas's Best Freight, ABF. We would run freight for them. We would run, loads for FedEx and UPS mainly. So basically, we would take that from out east, and we would take that over to Southern California, and then we'd grab another load out of Southern California and take it back over to Illinois. Now, as far as training, that was a great run. It was good miles. It was, it was just nice to be able to mix up a longer load with some of the shorter runs that we were getting. But what had happened was is they lost those contracts. All of those longer lanes dried up, and I was getting all of my loads were, around 500 to 700 miles, give or take, somewhere right in there. This made it very, very difficult to, maximize the truck and to line the trainee out on what he needed to do during week 2 and week 3 when we were trying to transition into a team truck. So, it was just really difficult. And then as we started losing contracts, we also lost a couple of other key contracts, and I'm not even really sure, what those contracts were. And I'm not really sure that I'm supposed to be saying, what I'm saying. But all I know is that the lane started slowing down, my miles started dropping, and every weekend I would end up sitting, or I would end up chasing trailers, looking for trailers. Now, mind you, if I would drop a loaded, I would be sent on an empty call to go find an empty trailer. And 9 times out of 10, where they thought the trailers were, they weren't there, or they were loaded and unavailable, either back to a dock with freight or, sitting in their drop lot loaded with a seal on it. So this had kept happening over and over and over and over and over again. And then I basically got told by my fleet manager that things weren't going to get any better, and that things were going to get worse. So I basically finished up with my last trainee that I was going to train, and I said I would run solo until I made the transition over to night transportation. First off, I want to say that, for local or regional or solo drivers, Paschal Truck Lines is a pretty decent company. There are certain things in their operations that I think personally, that my opinion is that their operations is a mess. There have been concerns that I've raised, and I don't know. I just know that the same problems kept happening over and over and over again. They kept on saying that they were going to be upgrading their operations systems to tablets, and that with the new systems, once they got those in place, that things were going to get a lot better. Problem with that is, they said they were going to roll out the tablets last fall, and up to the time that I left in December, they still hadn't had the tablets installed in the trucks, and they didn't have the new systems up and running. So, not really sure why, but and towards the end, I was struggling just to get my 2,500 miles solo. And so that just simply didn't work for me. So I wanted to move to a company that was national. And I was looking for somebody that had terminals all across the United States, so that, because I'm getting ready to move over to Idaho. So when I move to Idaho, I want to be able to stick with the same job and not have to lose my job when I move. So I called up a couple of different companies. I called Swift, I called Knight. Yes, I called Swift. And I'll cover some of the reasons why I'm making the choices that I'm making. So I called a couple of companies, and I asked them some key questions. I said, are you experiencing major slowdowns in the freight right now? Or can you assure me that I'm going to get my miles? Can you run me through the weekend? And do you know where your trailers are? So when I talked to Night Transportation, they said, yes, we have experienced a little bit of a slowdown, but it's not affecting us the way that it's affecting, small and medium-sized fleets. So that was encouraging. The second thing that they told me is that they have trackers inside of their trailers, and they know when their trailers are empty. So whatever technology that they use, they're able to tell when their trailers are empty and when they're available. So I did take a little bit of a pay dip to come over here initially. And in another video, I will cover pay, benefits, and stuff like that, as far as what I'm getting and all of that, but I'm going to save that for a different video. So, it's the right move for me, because, when I move over to Idaho, I don't want to be looking for a job. And I want to be able to put down roots with a pretty solid company that's not going to have these extreme ups and downs. I want things to be stable and level across the board. I went from making really good money to starving really fast because of the variables with the freight market. That scared me quite a bit and was very frustrating. I'll tell you, nothing's more frustrating than, calling your fleet manager and your fleet manager saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have a load for you. Looks like you're sitting. Looks like we can't get you home. It looks like, oh, you're stuck on the weekend again." And that kept happening over and over and over again. I am still in touch with a couple of drivers that are driving for PTL right now. They're pretty happy. But as far as the level at which I would operate at, 2,800 to 3,200 miles, I wasn't hitting that. And, PTL is a good company if you're just starting out. And the reason why I say that is because they have a training program. And during your first year, you've got a lot to learn. So, if you can come into the trucking industry and make 48 cents or 46 cents or whatever it is that they're starting you out at, and if they can get you 10,000 plus miles a month, you're making really good money. And they have a really generous home time. But, when you operate at a higher level, which I operate at, which, like I said, 2,800, 3,200, 3,400 miles, it doesn't work, So, if you're a new driver and you're starting out, you just got your CDL, I highly recommend Paschal Truck Lines. I really do. They're growing. They're making a lot of changes right now. So, I can't badmouth them, and I can't, say anything really bad about them other than it just didn't work for what I was trying to do at the time. Since I've come over to night transportation, these are just my experiences and my opinions, and keep in mind that, you're going to have your own experiences if you come over here, or if you go over to Paschal Truck Lines, or you go to Mountain Truck Lines, or you go to wherever you go. Your experience is going to be your own. So all I can speak about is what I've experienced so far, and kind of give my take on what I've been experiencing so far. So with that said, I am very happy with the move coming over here, and I'm going to tell you why. So some of the problems that I ran into, and if you watch some of my earlier videos about communication, a lot of the problems that I struggled with and what I was complaining about was communication and the high ratio between drivers and fleet managers. I could never get a hold of my fleet manager, and when I did get a hold of my fleet manager, he had 40, 50, 60 trucks on his board, and he was busy, busier than all get out. What I noticed is that when you had a really good fleet manager in that office, he did about 90% of the work. Now, I'm not bad-mouthing any fleet managers in particular, but when you have a very high-performing fleet manager, other fleet managers are going to take advantage of that. So it seemed to me like every time I turned around, I would be talking with my fleet manager, and my fleet manager would be like, "Oh, well, by the way, I'm taking care of my fleet plus this person's fleet, plus, if that fleet manager already has 50 trucks on his board, and he's got to help with somebody else's board, that's another 30 trucks. That's like 90 trucks that you have to, that's insane. Yeah. It's crazy. So, things would fall through the cracks and things would get missed, and my fleet manager wouldn't be able to give me the care and attention that I needed in order to iron out the details in order to stay rolling. And the other thing that they didn't do is they wouldn't pre-stack my loads. So I'd get empty, I'd send in my empty call or my arrival call, and I literally half the time didn't even know what I was going to go pick up next until I dropped that load. So I wasn't able to tell or plan my day or anything else like that. It just wouldn't work. And so, because I was running into that struggle and that stress all the time, it slowed me down and it made me a bit lazy. And so I got to a point where I was like, well, I might as well not even try as hard because they're not going to line up the loads because, so on and so forth. So, and that would kind of come and go a little bit. I would try hard again, and then I would stop trying as hard, and then, so it kind of ebbed and flowed and went up and down, but it was crazy chaotic. I really hope that they improve things over there. Like I said, I have a lot of good things to say about that company. They treated me really well, and I drove really nice trucks, and I really hope that they're able to recover some of their shortcomings in freight volumes and things like that. So, like I said, if you're new into the industry, Paschal Truck Lines is a really good company to drive for, depending on where you live. Their starting pay rate is pretty decent. 48 cents, 46 cents, something like that. You'd have to call a recruiter over there and ask them what their starting rate is. But since coming over to night transportation, my experience over here has been mind-blowing. I mean, my fleet manager calls me. Well, let me say this. So when I first sat down with my fleet manager, I asked my fleet manager how far in advance they are going to pre-plan my truck. And she told me up to 40 hours. That's like 2-3 days in advance. So it kind of took me back a little bit, and I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah, we stack 2 to 3 loads on top of you all at once. And so that way you know what's coming up next, what you're doing next, and that way it's not a surprise. I was shocked and amazed. So when I first started, I had a little bit of a learning curve to learn the new technology, and so it was a little bit rough. But my first week out, I did about 3,200 miles, 3,400 miles, something like that. And I maintained that for a couple of weeks, right? And then I went home, and I came back out. I've only been on over here for 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks. But y'all, it's a completely different world. When you're stacked out 3 loads at a time, I'm still trying to get used to it because it's a lot to process. And it's a lot to, because you got to make sure that you're really keeping an eye on your hours of operation, and that you as far in advance as possible, let your fleet manager know about any problems. So the other thing that they do, which I think is absolutely amazing, is every time I get a new pre-plan stacked onto my truck, I get a phone call. Yeah, my fleet manager calls me. What? Yeah, my fleet manager calls me. I was actually telling my fleet manager, I'm like, after she called me a couple of times, I commented to her and I said, I'm still trying to get used to this. And she goes, what do you mean? And I said, you call me. That's like weird. I've never had my fleet manager call me on the phone to go over the pre-plan, to go over weather, to go over routing, and offer that line of communication for me to ask questions. I'm like, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm just, oh what a blessing. What a blessing. So, extremely happy. Yeah. I did take a little bit of a pay cut coming over here. But, you know, that's easily made up for in operations. If I hit my bonuses, and as long as I'm putting out the miles, my paychecks will be about the same. So, you know, and after 30 days, I get to go back to being a trainer here at night. So, yeah, I got like another week or so to drive solo, and then I'm gonna start training again. And with the training pay, it's really complicated, so I'm not going to go into the training pay. But I will say that they're advertising that they pay their trainers $100,000 a year. So, you know, that's more than what I was making over at the previous company. And all that you do, you gotta make a decision and say, am I happy where I'm at? Am I happy with, you know, my paycheck coming in? Or is my life going in a direction where I need to change something? And ultimately, I think, personally, that you need to pray and ask God for direction, because night transportation really wasn't even on my radar. And He put it on my heart and into my mind to look into night transportation, so I did. And so, you know, those are extra blessings for me since I got over here. So like right now, I'm heading over to Washington State on a load, and yeah, I think in the last 8 days, once I finish up this load, I'm going to be at 4,000 miles. So that's crazy. I'm still trying to get used to it. I haven't ran this hard in a long time. So it's definitely a different level of operations that, you know, because I was getting used to that slower level of operations. And so now I got to get used to the higher level of operations and the higher level of planning and stuff. So I was like, this is awesome. It's a good problem to have, right? So, as far as the equipment, you know, they run pretty good equipment. I really don't have any complaints. It's all pretty similar to the other company. It's just operations wise, they're a lot more advanced and things go a lot smoother. So I am very, very happy with coming over here. So if you guys are thinking about, you know, switching over to dry van, switching over to a national company, they've got like 23 or 26 terminals all across the United States. So if I run into any problems out there on the road, or I just need to come through and find a place to park, I've already been to like 5 or 6 of their terminals, because where they deliver, usually it's around a terminal location, and so it's pretty awesome. Let's see, I've had work done in a couple of their shops. There was a couple things on the truck I needed to get fixed. That's just par for the course, you know. Get into a truck, you find a couple problems. But everything's been pretty quick, you know. And so I'm very, very, very happy. If you guys are thinking about coming over to Night Swift, if you call a recruiter, let them know that Sean Cahalan says that this company is amazing and awesome, and that I referred you, so that, you know, maybe I can get a referral bonus. That'd be nice. My driver code is 24807. If you do call up a recruiter and say, hey, I watched this video and Sean says your company's pretty amazing, what can you do for me? Now keep in mind, you know, these are my experiences and my assessment as a driver who's been driving for 8 years. I'm almost officially up to 8 years of driving experience. I can't believe it. But I've been around. I've driven for a lot of different companies. And I gotta say, I am pleasantly surprised at this company. I had my preconceived notions that, it was going to be like just any other mega fleet, but so far it hasn't been like that. So if you want to give them a shout, call them up, let them know Sean Cahalan told you to give them a call. Driver code 24807. Let me make sure I'm giving you the right driver code. Yep, driver code 24807. I had to double check because all these new numbers I'm trying to memorize, right? Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised. Like I said, I didn't expect it to be like this. I thought, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. I'm going to be sitting all the time. I'm going to get left out in the weeds all the time. No, not like that at all. I'm treated with respect. I can almost always get a hold of my fleet manager. I have her cell number and her direct office number, and I can call the driver queue number if I can't get a hold of her. So there's pretty much always somebody for me to get a hold of. And I just think that that's amazing because, like I said, if you go back and watch some of my other videos where I was complaining about these problems, it's such a huge blessing that I didn't expect. So, it's just an instance of where I stepped out in faith. I followed what God prompted me to do, and so I came over here and I was pleasantly blessed. It's awesome. It's amazing. And I wasn't really sure whether or not I was going to stick around. I wasn't really sure whether this was going to work out. So I was I had my reservations. I was skeptical, right? But now that I've been here for more than 3 weeks, we'll see here in a couple months. I'll give you guys a review after a couple of months. But as of right now, I'm thinking about sticking around for a long time. I know that things might be a little bit different once I move out to, Idaho, to a different terminal location. But I'm not thinking that it's going to be that much different, not much worse. So we'll have to see. Night transportation out of Phoenix, Arizona. Like I said, they've got yards all over the place. So look them up. Give them a call. See what they can do for you. If you're thinking about coming over to dry van, they do dry van and reefer, and they do port and rail, and they do the containers. And they have dedicated local, regional, over the road. So, give them a call, see what they can do for you. They're pretty diverse. I know that they own Swift. They bought Swift Transportation. So that's another added benefit of working for Night Swift is that I can park at any of the Swift locations, Swift terminal locations, or a Night terminal location. They're huge, big company. They own like 36 or more other companies in their portfolio of companies that they own, and also part of what they own is logistics companies, and so they're big, very big. So they're able to weather the storms of the freight market shifts up and down way better than a small or medium fleet. Because I'll tell you, when I first started for Paschal Truck Lines a couple years ago, things were great, and I was running. But when the freight started slowing down, everything dipped off major, and it hurt my bottom line, my paychecks. So, but again, I'm not going to say anything bad about Paschal Truck Lines. I'm really not. I trained for them. I trained 5 drivers. And I made some pretty decent money over there. It just didn't have a lot of consistency to it, So, that's what I'm looking for, is a little bit more consistency. I've chased the money. For years and years and years, I chased the money. The bigger money, the bigger money, the bigger money. Well, I'm going to tell you what I've learned in my experiences of chasing the money. What you'll find out is a lot of companies that tell you that they're going to pay you a lot more, a lot of times fail to give you the miles. So great, you pay me 10 cents more per mile, but the catch is usually less miles. And what I noticed over at Paschal Truck Lines was exactly that. My average length of haul was only like, 500-600 miles. I'd run 5-6 loads a week. And I had to work really, really hard to make those consistent paychecks. So now that I've taken a little bit of a dip in pay, but I'm able to run longer miles, longer hauls, it's easier to make that money. So it's a wash, and I haven't really noticed that big of a change in my paychecks because my mileage count's higher. So, but that's just my experience. Again, but I've switched companies a couple different times chasing that money to find out that you really can't make that much money because you just can't. They tell you that you can. Your pay per mile is a lot higher, yeah. But, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. We'll see how that pans out. The way that it pans out is pretty much you have to stay out for a lot longer. And when your length of hauls are shorter, what ends up happening is you have to work way more hours doing drop-in hooks and messing with more trailers and more dock appointments and stuff, or what I call dock events. When you run into those dock events, what that does is that pretty much cuts your day in half, or you're only able to produce 3/4 of the miles that you would normally be able to do in a normal work day. So to give you an example of this, if they give you a 250 mile load, you're going to pick it up in the morning and you're going to drop it that evening and you're done for the day. Or you might be able to get underneath another load, but by the time you get to that next load, you started your day at 5 o'clock in the morning and now it's 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. You're tired, and then you got to take your 10 off. Well, you wake up the next morning and now you can't wake up and start driving until 8 o'clock, and it pushes your day out. And then next thing you know, you're only putting up 350, 400 miles a day. Yeah, I was having to get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and be driving until 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night every day. Not every day, but most days. I can't say absolutes because that's just not true. Anyway, I'm very happy over here at Night Swift. So I'm not really sure about Swift Transportation. I really don't know how much they've changed since they got bought out by Night. So I might have to meet a couple of Swift drivers to be able to give you an assessment of that company, because I don't drive for them. I would think that their operations would change, but I guess that would depend on if you're on a dedicated lane or if you're on like a Walmart dedicated. Of course you're going to be doing multi-drops and all that stuff, but as far as OTR, I'm very, 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 very happy. Like I said, I ran from Tulsa to Arizona to Phoenix, from Phoenix over to Southern California, and then I did a drop and reload over in Southern California. I came back over, went up to Illinois, and then I was kind of running back and forth from Oklahoma City to Illinois there for a bit so that I can go home. And then came back out, and I've been running all over the place. And then, like I said, they just gave me this load from, I picked it up in Carthage, Missouri, and I'm taking it to Puyallup, Washington. So I'm running, and I'm running hard. I couldn't be happier. So, hey, if you like this video and this content and this kind of stuff, please like and subscribe and give a thumbs up. You know, I've been trying to build my YouTube presence, and that's the only way to build my YouTube presence is by you guys smashing that like and subscribe button at the bottom of your screen or at the bottom of your phone, and becoming a follower. And it's kind of tough. I've been doing this, I've been making videos for I think over a year, and it's it's taking a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. So if you wouldn't mind helping me out, I would really appreciate it. You know, I try helping you guys out by bringing you relevant information with a smiling face and a little bit of banter and a little bit of humor every once in a while, and tell you some crazy stories. So I'm just trying to help you guys out. So, you know, if you wouldn't mind helping me out, Christian brother, I would really appreciate that. And that way it can help my videos go out to more people. And then you have to have 1,000 subscribers in order to go live. And I really would like to be able to go live so that I don't have to pre-record my videos and put them up on YouTube. I know you guys are like, well, when the struggle's real, tell you what. So as always, thanks for watching, and God bless you all.